Gotta love it. Welcome everyone to Prepper Chicks After Dark. It is Tuesday, April the 1st, 2014, and we are here to play some Conflicted, and it's going to be a little bit different tonight. But before we begin, heads up to everyone, a couple things going on, just to make you aware of, in case you do not know. We've had a pretty significant earthquake, in Chile just a little while ago that is rocking and rolling the area down there. There are tsunami alerts out. We're still waiting for impact on that. So just, keep your eyes open and stay prepared and stay safe. Also in Texas, our hearts are with all these people. Texas has had some, rough weather tonight too, with some tornadoes and some large sized hail going on. So over the next couple of days, I know parts of the Midwest are expected to have some pretty significant storms. So, pay attention, listen up, eyes to the skies, and get prepared. Make sure that you always have a pack with you, and you have a plan. So, stay safe because we care about you guys. So, Conflicted, what is it? It's a deck of cards. Actually, there are two decks out now. If you don't have one, go get them. I'll post a link here in a minute. It's a deck of 52 cards with some scenario questions on those about what to do. Use these in your prepping groups. It's an awesome tool to get talking about things that are very uncomfortable sometimes to talk about. But quite honestly, we need to. So get ahead of it. Tonight we're going to do something a little different, and we are down to me and Alika tonight. Alika, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. Are we going to go ahead as planned and do a 30-minute rendition of All by Ourselves?
You want to sing? Oh, no, I'm not going to go there. But why don't you let everybody know where you're from and what you're up to?
Well, I am from shtfready.com. We're prepping survivalist forum that we help others learn to prepare, and we share ideas on survival. We keep the politics out, and we focus on prepping and everything surrounding it. Everybody is welcome. And you heard of the ant and the grasshopper story? Our website teaches you to be the ant.
Awesome. It's always a pleasure to have you. Now, tonight, we do have the phone lines open. Does not mean I can figure out how to get you into the call here, but we're going to attempt that. Phone number is area code 718-717-8296. This will be the first time we have attempted this, so a little excited about that. So go ahead, if you have a question or you want to play a question, give us a call and we'll go from there. But I'm going to throw the first question out, Alika. Let's talk about what's in the news. So, you're in an area, you have a significant earthquake, and you might be on the coast, you might not be. I know Yellowstone has been hiccuping. We had the earthquake in LA this past week also. But you have to evacuate your home. You have your bug out bags. If you have to go to a public shelter for some reason, what items would you put in your backpack?
That were in addition to what I already have in my bug out bag that I'm taking?
Yeah, in addition. What are some things that you would take with you?
I would think I would have everything with me. I would try and find some form of protection. I mean, I know most of these shelters won't allow weapons. Maybe somehow get a collapsible baton or something, or a Kubotan, something portable that that I could protect myself and my wife if needed be. Because if we end up being in there for a lot longer than planned, it's going to turn into some Lord of the Flies type stuff like it did at the Superdome, where there was a lot of crime going on right underneath the Superdome, which was supposed to be sanctuary for everybody. And a lot of people couldn't defend themselves because of the animals that were trapped in there with them. But as far as other items, I would like to assume that I would have everything already in my bag for pretty much every situation I could think of. Being in an area with, for earthquakes, that is earthquake prone, I would, think I would be packing suitably for that.
So I know we just put out the alert, when you change your clocks back in the spring and the fall, you should always be checking your bug out bags, making sure that you restock anything you might have taken out. Jimmy brings up a nice walking stick. You brought up the baton. I know flashlights. We have some flashlight combatives classes here in Indianapolis that you can take. A lot of people don't think flashlight could be a deadly weapon, but in fact, if used properly, you could definitely defend yourself with that. So, a lot of people think, oh, well, I need protection, but they won't let me bring a firearm in. Somebody brought up in the chat room that they've never seen them check bags, but, there are other resources out there too besides a firearm. I know I posted a story a little bit ago from a website called thesurvivaldoctor.com, and he brings up some things that are important too to think about when going to some type of emergency shelter. You have to understand that any time that you have humans packed into a small room, even schools, I talked about that this morning with my son, taking him out of the public school system. We haven't been sick at all this winter. He hasn't, it was like clockwork when my kids went to school. They would come home with something after break was over with. But he brings up some good points. Some antibacterial waterless wipes. I would go as far as some kind of, gloves, to take with you. Masks, N95 masks are always the best that you can get. I know there's N100s out there, but he brings up a good point in the story too, that the masks are for you, clean scarf, handkerchiefs, those things will do. But if there's someone in there coughing their heads off, then you need to just give them one, because it's better to contain the stuff at the source than to let it get spread around. Water bottles with filters. I have a Berkey Ghost for it. It's a great little travel thing to take with you. But usually at any sporting goods store you can get a decent filter and a water bottle. And then of course, over-the-counter, your prescription medication, of course, but some over-the-counter medication such as headache relievers, because it's, you're going to be stressed out, antacids, and something like a Benadryl, some extra Band-Aids, antibiotic ointment, that kind of stuff. So, no, you can't spit on it, and no, Windex will not clean and kill just anything. Alika is working tonight, JD is working tonight, and Chris is still with his newborn. So, you guys out there, please feel free to call in 718-717-8296. That way I can get some practice to answering phones on here. So, anything else, Alika, that you think would be good to add to that?
The masker actually, I would think would work not only for what you just listed, but I think if I was wearing it and coughing maybe on schedule every 10, 15 minutes, I think I would create a nice little wide berth around me and not have too many people in my area.
It would be nice. Do you think you could do that, though?
I don't know about you, but if I see a person with a mask on, I kind of tend to stay clear away from them. I saw a person in Walmart with it on, and I was like, okay, let me turn around and go to the next aisle.
Yeah, but in places like China, that's an everyday occurrence. And I did see in the news that Tomorrow, Great Britain is supposed to have the worst smog cloud descend upon the city that's the worst in 60 years that they've ever had.
Oh, really?
In London? Yeah. It's like, holy cow. And I know they're bottling fresh air in China and trying to sell it over there. It's that bad. It's just, yeah.
Wow. That's insane.
But get your duct tape out that you keep in your bug out bag and put a line on the floor and tell them not to cross this.
Yeah, that's not going to create any conflict.
Yeah, no. Well, you've got your flashlight and baton to protect you, so. But I can't imagine having to go to someplace like that.
Yeah.
But Salty brought up in the chat room that he would, it'd be the last place he would go. And I would tend to agree. The problem is people with children are going to be the ones that are going. And, like I said, you get that many kids in a room with adults packed in there, and you're asking for a very uncomfortable situation. Oh, did you see too? Speaking of, and I know I've seen this over the internet for a while now, and I don't have one of these, but I'm sure people out there do. The padded push-up bras can be used as a mask. I mean, it's not an N95 mask, but it's better than nothing, I guess.
Sorry, I'm getting different picture in my head.
It's a multifunctional thing. I know there's a company out there that makes those specifically for that, to be used for that, but, some kind of padded, I mean, we're talking a handkerchief or something like that. Why not use a padded push-up bra?
Yeah, I could see some practical uses in there. Wouldn't be very tactical looking though.
Well, yeah, who cares? You got pink polka dots on your face at that time. Who cares?
True. Well, but I got a good question for you.
Let's go.
Let's do this. After the collapse, people start bartering for goods and services. Illegal drugs have become a hot commodity in your region. And one day, while showing off your wares at a local trading post, someone tries to barter with you by paying you in drugs. There are no laws anymore to say what substances are illegal or legal, but these are harmful and addictive substances. Would you take the drugs in exchange for your goods and services after the collapse? Why or why not?
That's a good question. And I was thinking about something earlier somebody brought up concerning bartering too. And maybe you can throw your thoughts out there, Alika. They brought up the fact that in order to barter, you have to let people know what you have. And they were afraid that if word got out that you had X, Y, and Z, that it would be setting you up to be attacked. And they have a valid point there.
Well, I think if people are desperate enough for a particular item, they will put the vibes out saying, hey, do you know where I can get, a pack of smokes, or do you know where I can get something that'll let me forget where I'm at for a little while? Or even, hey, I'm out of toilet paper. You know where I can get some, or do you have some? I don't really think you would have to put out, hey, I got all of this. What do you have for trade? Because if somebody puts it out and you say, oh, I can get it for you, or I have it, then once that person does get that particular item and somebody else asks him, hey, you know where I can get this? Oh, well, yeah, this guy helped me out a while back when I needed something. Let me go ask him again and see if he can find something for me. I think that little underground networking would work that way. And you could still be safe being the barter guy or girl.
So you don't come out and say, hey, I've got a supply of toilet paper here, but hey, let me see if I can go find it. And then let me get back to you, kind of a thing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Even with my job, I don't, I come across a lot of excess stuff sometimes, but I never put out to, my comrades and my down traces, hey, I got all this stuff. What do you have? I wait and listen and see if somebody needs this or that. And then I produce that particular item. And I think I would apply that to, shit hit the fan scenario and the apocalypse is here. I would say, hey, I can get you this. But even if you can get them something and they don't pay you back, so to speak, you could still maybe cash in that favor if you trust that person enough later down the road.
Gotcha. Now, would you accept what we might consider illegal narcotics now? Would you accept something like that for barter? Because I'm thinking I might do that.
Oh, yeah. I would do it in a heartbeat, especially, in the very beginning, drugs, the vices, nobody's going to really be thinking about that. But later on, when people are realizing that, help's not coming or it's going to be like this for a good while, people are going to want to seek that release. And, that little nugget of weed or 8 ball of coke that you have is now worth, 20.
Okay, did I just lose Alika or is it me? Am I here by myself? Hello? Can anybody hear me? Hey guys in the chat room. Can you hear me at all? Well, let's see what we can do here.
Seriously?
Are you back, Alika?
Yes, sorry.
I'm not sure. I'm not hearing anything in the chat room. Oh, there they can hear us. Now I'm going to try and add Michael to the call and see what we can do here. Hang on one second, okay?
All right.
Or you can talk while I'm doing this.
Oh, okay. I'll go on with my little story. I met a person that he favored alcohol more than I did. So I got my hands on some cheap bottom shelf vodka that I cost a buddy of mine about $15 to send. When I found out that he was in need of a good stiff drink, I offered up what I had, and in turn, he gave me a $250 automatic Benchmade knife for $15 worth of vodka. So if people are desperate enough, you could pretty much get anything you want.
Well, a Benchmade knife is a pretty good knife, too.
Oh, yeah. I asked him, what do you have for this? And I'm thinking some 2-bit item that he was going to give me, and he offered me a brand new Benchmade knife. I couldn't believe it, just because he was a borderline drunk. But people will part with stuff if they're really desperate for what you got. So, drugs, if I had the opportunity, I would have a little stash on the side. I won't take it. But I know other people will, and offer a nice penny for it.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband and I belong to several bushcraft sites, Bushcraft USA, and there's one over in England and stuff. We actually got hooked up with some guys that, bartering is what they do. That's just a way of life. And I cannot for the life of me figure out how to get Michael in here without him calling. But let me keep working on it. But good sites to go to. They're good guys. If you're starting to build a pack, they have a lot of great information what equipment you would need in order to, because these guys just grab a backpack and go camping. They don't have a camper or half the time they don't have a tent. They just put up a tarp or something along that line, and they just go. They take whatever. But I know the guys over in England, they're a whole nother breed of survivalists over there, because they've had to work around things that are illegal over there that we take for granted over here. So.
Oh yeah, their knife laws are ridiculous over there.
Oh, and a good friend of mine over there has knives. Okay, hang on 1 second, okay? We're gonna try and get Michael in here.
Good evening.
We got you. Yay.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem. I couldn't figure out the other way. So, Michael, question was, would you accept a narcotic in exchange for another good that you would need in a downgrade situation?
Would I exchange a narcotic?
Would you accept
a narcotic
as payment?
It depends on what the narcotic is and what area I'm in.
What line wouldn't you cross then? I mean, are we talking marijuana here? Are we talking cocaine? Hash? What are you talking about? What line wouldn't you go across?
I probably wouldn't take anything that was a chemical powder, just because the keeping it dry and stuff like that might be an issue, and you become a really hefty target for that. Other things take up a lot more room, but that's like people I don't want to deal with.
Would you?
I think he has a good point, because I mean, if you got an 8-ball of coke or heroin, how do they know it's heroin? At least you can identify what marijuana looks like in a bag,
Well, they have synthetic marijuana now.
Yeah, nobody's trading anything for that. But what I'm saying is, I don't think the people who would absolutely need like some sort of chemical powder or crystalline formed narcotic, I don't think I want to have to deal with them, because in my life experience, those people are remarkably untrustworthy.
Okay, so it's a downgrade situation and you're looking to barter. If someone approached you with that, how would you politely decline not to cause a bigger ruckus then?
I don't think I'd politely decline at that point. If it was a downgrade situation and I was to not want that, I think I would make my feelings very well known. There would be no mistaking my feelings. I don't think there would be anything polite about it.
So if there's, 5 of them and 1 of you or 2 of you,
well, hopefully
you would take the chance?
Hopefully we've done our homework and we have the appropriate implements and the right mindset and the right awareness to take care of that situation.
Okay. Well, you bring up a good point. So, are there rules? Well, let's say, I don't know, rules might be a strong word, but, downgrade situation has occurred. You're looking long term, bartering has stepped in. Are there, I'm not sure, rules that you would adhere to when it comes to bartering? Would you not go to certain parts of town? Would you only do it during certain hours?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's any hard and fast rules that I could come up with, like it says in the book on page 12, these are the rules to follow. But I mean, there's just certain common sense things I wouldn't do. I wouldn't go and trade a guy a fully functioning loaded weapon for a bag of crystal meth.
Yeah, I think rule number 1 that we all would agree with is we never barter firearms that can be used against you. Same way with ammunition.
I thought
I don't think I would. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I thought rule number 1 is not to get higher on your own supply.
I think rule number 1 is to come home at the end of the night.
Yeah. Okay, well, one of the rules is you don't barter firearms or ammunition somewhere along the line. And I think the rest of the rules will be dictated as the events unfold.
What would you do if a person was trading, say you did want to trade a firearm, you had you had an excess amount of a certain rifle that you could get rid of or a handgun, and the person wanted a weapon and ammo for exchange or something else, would you be afraid of a double cross? How would
I
you?
don't have any ammo to still at this time.
I would be very uncomfortable trading something like that. Any kind of weapon, I would have to think long and hard of exchanging for it. But I'm going to throw a curveball out there though. Let's say that person has medication that would save your child.
I think I would approach it where, all right, I'll give you the AK-47 and go 50 yards down. The brick of ammo is buried under that rock, that painted rock, 50 yards away, and have him do that where he's by the, you don't go anywhere, but let him walk all the way, or make it 300 meters away or something. Make him walk all the way towards the end, and that way you can pick up the ammo. Everything's on the up and up, and then you have more than ample time to run and duck if he decides to double cross you.
Can I ask a couple questions about this, about the scenario?
Sure.
The guy who's got the medication, the life-saving medication for your child, what kind of guy is he?
Well, that's a good question.
And how much of this medication does he have?
That's a good question. I mean, we can revise
if
that
this
scenario.
If this is a downgrade situation and it's truly without rule of law and this guy's a scumbag, yeah, I'll make the deal with him and I might crawfish on the boy. And, if it's that kind of a situation, if it's your kid, yeah, I think nothing's off the table.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I would do whatever it would take in order to save my child. And I think you bring up a valid point, Mike. What's the person, is it the local physician? And he just, that's the only thing that you have left that's worth what he has, and that's all you have left to barter? Or is
he Jimmy the crackhead?
No, he's in the chat.
No offense, nobody. I didn't mean that any offense to Jimmy Funky. That's just the name that came out. Sorry. But I mean, if this guy's like the local scumbag, well, hell, I mean, you might get two birds with one stone. You did like a community service and you got the kids medication, Yeah. And the pigs ate well that night.
Yeah.
But what if Jimmy the crackhead can get you more medicine later down the road?
Then I think you use Jimmy the crackhead like any farmer uses an animal.
Well, then it changes because now he's a businessman and he's not going to risk, not being able to supply you later on. He's got something invested now in it. It's not just a one-time shot for him. If he takes you out, his business is over with. If he can keep supplying you with what you need, then, he's our new entrepreneur for the downgrade. So you have a lesser chance of him trying to pull something shitty on you. But, Jimmy, the crackhead in the chat room brings up the fact, could you look at, what's left to barter? Would you, and this is probably going to be harder for you guys to answer, but would you barter sex instead?
Well, I'm gonna jump out of this one because how can you barter with something you can't give away for free?
Alika, what would you do?
So Jimmy thinks I'm cute and he has medicine my kid needs.
He's got medicine that your kid needs. You have a choice of bartering your AK or, about, 20 minutes of your time.
It's for the kid. I need the gun. I could take a long shower and reenact the crying game, I guess, in the river.
You've got the gun. You've got the gun.
Yeah, but if Jimmy the crackhead is I don't know where he's got the stuff. I'm not gonna just shoot the guy. maybe shoot him afterwards. I don't know, but I would, if the guy is producing medicine that my kid needs, and I don't know where he got it, I'm going to try and find out, where he's getting it. You know, say if he's a crackhead, he's probably been knocked around, enough times and beaten up and stuff. So, I mean, what's torture going to do? He could probably say, oh, I got it from over there, you know, make up something, and still you're right back to square one. You have a dose for your kid that will only last for X amount of days or months, you know?
This is a really tough topic for guys to talk about, isn't it? I mean, it seriously is. I'm not trying to be smart or anything.
No, you're right.
Anytime, you know, the studying I've done after Fukushima, after Katrina, after anything like that, there's such a high increase in rape and that kind of stuff. And people don't take that seriously. Women don't take that seriously. And they rely upon men in their lives to protect them. And we have to stop that. You know, there's instance after instance where, you know, the woman looks to her husband or her boyfriend or brother or father or whatever to protect her. And that isn't going to happen. And we need to realize that, you know, sex is one of, the most, humiliating and horrible crimes that you have to endure. And we need to open those conversations up to help people, quite honestly. And that's men and women both. I mean, men get raped too. And I think it's harder for them to deal with it than women. I mean, to a point, women in certain situations, it's just everyday life. It's just something you deal with. Men, it's a horrible situation. Mentally and physically. I know Walking Dead was a little disturbing on Sunday night, with Carl. Because they showed a scene where they got attacked by a group of bad guys, and the one asshat had the boy, the young teenager, down on the ground and was going to, you know, do the unspeakable. But that's real life. And we need to be able to talk about it because we need to be able to prepare ourselves for it, because it will happen.
Yeah, definitely.
And it has happened.
But I would like to think that I look like a mongoloid with a beard going down to my chest and stinking like all high hell, that I wouldn't be attractive to anybody regardless.
Well, maybe that's part of your plan though, too, you know? Maybe instead of worrying about hygiene as much as we do when it comes to certain aspects of that we take a step back and, you know, do we allow our appearance to become shabby?
Yeah, but then you have to balance that carefully. Then you go into hygiene and health and all that other stuff that poor hygiene leads to.
I think if you get in a situation to where you put yourself into a spot where you can't recover mentally, you're not doing any good. So in this situation where it's sex, no, you can't voluntarily go into it. If you've got the power to fight that, and I'm not talking about like a forcible rape because you were unarmed, but like in a trading sex for your good, I think it doesn't do anybody any good. It does the kid good in the short term to get the medication. It doesn't do you any good to become a damaged product to that child. So in that situation, yeah, the guy with the drugs or whatever medication it is, he gets used to the point where I can get the medication. If it comes down to you got to pass off some sort of favor. Yeah, I'm sorry. He's getting shot.
I don't know. See, in my opinion, it would be a tough call. And, you know, taking my religious beliefs out of it, if I were put to a situation where, and I don't know if it's because of my past history, that's everything that's gone on in my life, but I can mentally pretty much shut myself down. And if I had to do what I had to do, I'll do it. But, you know, would I rather live with killing someone versus being raped? I think
Yeah,
both
I'll take the killing one.
But see, that's easier for guys, in my opinion. It's not as easy for women to go down that route. I honestly question whether it would be easier for a woman to endure a rape than it is to kill someone. And that's just the differences between, in my opinion, between the mental abilities between a man and a woman.
Well, I think killing is fast and easy, and I think people could quickly detach themselves, man or woman could detach themselves from that experience, versus a rape, where they would be reliving that scenario day in, day out for the rest of their lives. I don't know.
It's a tough call.
Yeah.
You know? It's really a tough call, and it's going to come down to the moment. I know, in my past, I've had to endure it, and I don't think I'm all that messed up in the head right now. But, you know, I guess that would depend on who you ask, too. Luckily, Eddie's in the other room.
You see the chat comment, Lori?
I'm multitasking too much right now. So, Doc, what about this, Lori? If you had to do sexual favors in order to only survive, that's different. Because it's life or death. But favors for certain things, that's different. Good point. It's gonna be a hard call on, what anyone would do.
Yeah.
Let's go to, we got Mike on the phone. Let's go to a question out of, the deck.
I've got another one if you're still looking.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Society has collapsed. You are well prepared because you invested a lot of money on your bug out location and supplies. A local contractor who worked on your property has occupied your shelter with his family before your arrival. He said that your retreat was the only safe place he knew and that some of his coworkers would probably show up as well. He wants what's best for his family and is uncertain he wants to let you in. How would you take control of this situation?
I guess that's almost a matter of numbers, isn't it?
Yeah. But wouldn't that piss you off? You give this guy thousands and thousands, because these things aren't cheap. Thousands and thousands of dollars to begin with. And a lot of people that I know have them use a contractor from the other side of the United States, so there's very small chance of hell of them coming in if there is a downgrade.
I think numbers are the key in that situation. I mean, if you've got a normal suburban family that may have some weapons training, a family of 5, I don't think you're going to be able to take on a group of 14 or a group of 8 even assaulting a building.
Yeah,
that one's almost a lost cause at that point, I think, if they're already there before you. If you can't negotiate some sort of deal with them, you get to stay there as well. I don't think there's any taking it back from them.
I would have to agree because the contractor knows every nook and cranny of that shelter and the weak spots and the blind spots and all that other good stuff. He probably already has his security plan laid out and he would be ready for your people if you try to retake that.
Well, you can sit in ambush and take them off one by one.
Yeah, that would be the only way is guerrilla warfare. But then you would probably have to wait them out until they burn through the supplies that were in that bunker too.
How long do you think you personally would last in an underground bunker? I know we've seen, who was it? Big Al on one of the Doomsday Proper shows. He's been on my page a few times. And he's the guy that had all of the, just cases and cases of, canned food in the underground bunker. The big guy. how long do you think you could actually, physically, mentally, whatever, stay in an underground bunker like that? Because I'm thinking, personally, I'm going to get claustrophobic real fast. That would be like one of the last places I think I would want to go to.
Yeah, I think I read a couple of studies with prisoners in solitary confinement. They start losing their minds, I think 72 hours into it. They just start going crazy. And to be in a bunker like that for, months on end, maybe if there was enough people to, socialize with, I think maybe I could stay down there for a week. But if it was just me and my wife, we'd probably be going bananas in 2 to 3, 4 days.
Mike, what do you think? How long could you stay in something like that?
I went to jail, so I could probably do 6 months real easy.
Really? Man, Jimmy said the same thing in the chat room. I just 6 months.
Easy. 6 months goes by in a heartbeat.
How do you mentally prepare yourself for something like that?
Well, were you in?
A lot of times there is no preparation.
Well,
you just go.
You know what I'm talking about.
You do a lot of sleeping. You do a lot of calisthenics. You focus on personal things that are fairly mundane, but they end up taking a lot of your time. You wash your socks a lot.
For obvious reasons, I'll leave that one alone.
Oh yeah, that one's tough right there.
Well, we talk about, part of your preparedness that a lot of people don't think about is having, board games and cards and dice and, all that kind of stuff. But man, I go to New York City to visit Eddie's family and I already start getting antsy. Just because there's, not a lot of green grass or, there's, it's just so enclosed there. Everybody's so up in your face and everything, I'm not sure.
I think if it was, you'd be able to do 6 months. 6 months would go by before you knew it.
I don't want to try it. That would be my last thing. I'm going to run above the ground as far as I can and as long as I can before I would ever have to go down in something like that. The most I would think about would be, and Eddie and I've talked about this, because we are right in the line of tornadoes here in Indianapolis. And a lot of homes here do not have basements. About putting something out back in some kind of underground cellar or something like that. But that's for a very short amount of time. We're talking, a couple days, if that. Alika, how long would you be good for?
Between me and my wife, I would have to say about a week. I mean, I've never been in the situation where I'd have to just sit in a small 8x8 area, or I've never been to jail, so I can't speak, but I would say a week, just off the top of my head. Maybe time does go by faster, but I can't imagine myself being stuck in there for that long and not going bananas.
Now, I'm assuming it's going to depend on what kind of down-grid situation it is. If it's a nuclear attack or something like that, you probably wouldn't want to come up for a while until at least you think you're clear of fallout and all that kind of stuff. But, man, that's a rough one. I mean, it would again be until you get in the situation. But what happens, Mike, what would you do if somebody in your group started freaking out down there?
There's ways to subdue people without putting a lot of harm on them. There's ways like people in psych hospitals use to take somebody down. There's takedown methods that actually are a lot safer than just whacking somebody in the head with a baseball bat, and
So should we all?
I would hope that your preps, if you're really in a well stocked situation. I have a bit of a medical background, so I would hope that somebody has some medical background and provided for some sort of sedative. Not necessarily a painkiller, but a sedative. Like if you'd have Valium, Valium works wonders on somebody who's freaking out.
So we could go back to question number 1 and make sure that we have sedatives to trade instead of, cocaine or something.
I would say definitely more, if you were going to look at like pharmaceuticals or drugs, in a more general term, for stocking up on, yeah, I'd say you'd be better off to look for stuff like Valium and codeine and marijuana and liquor rather than anything else.
Benadryl. I know, Benadryl is also a good sedative.
Benadryl works with children, and it's important that you keep track of respirations. But Benadryl also comes in a cream, and that's pretty handy to have.
Yeah, definitely. So we should all pack straight jackets too, huh? Or extra duct tape.
Duct tape.
Well, you could just have a straight jacket and have it hanging up. That would probably.
I don't think you'd even need. I don't think having a straight jacket would be good for the people's mental set prior to the freak out. I think that might induce the freak out a little earlier.
I think keeping a package of flexi cuffs, you can hide them away in a drawer or a foot locker, and the time is needed to restrain somebody, you can easily whip those suckers out and wrangle the crazy person in.
You could do that, and if you can't afford flexi cuffs, zip ties work just as well. You just need 3 of them.
I can make zip ties though. I learned how to do that, and it's pretty easy.
Oh yeah, but those are the cheap zip ties.
Yeah, they are.
There's a wide range of zip ties out there, and I suggest people buy the good zip ties whenever you get some.
Now, where would people get Valium at right now?
You're not going to get it unless it's prescribed to you. That's a controlled substance.
Yeah, so don't be doing anything illegal beforehand. Or
I mean, but it's widely prescribed. If you've got a family member, there's a chance I would say that there's probably a 40% chance if you've got 6 people living in a house that somebody has Valium prescribed to them. It's quite common. Quite common.
I might have to look into that.
It's got many different names. It's any of the benzodiazepines or any of the benzos are actually a pretty good sedative. They'll take the edge off of somebody real quick.
I think probably the most prescribed drug out there that you would hit if you were ransacking a house or whatever looking for supplies would probably be Ambien and Xanax.
Yeah, Xanax is a huge one. And
that would be another good sedative to have is Xanax. But actually, if you're going to talk about ransacking somebody's house and looking through their medication, you're more likely to find something like Zoloft or Paxil or Prozac. And those really don't have any sort of feel-good value. That's a trade. The only trade that they're good with is somebody who is absolutely 100% convinced that they need them.
Well, there's another thing then you need to, if you're looking at this too, another item that you need to have in your preps is that small little book that you get that has all of the prescription drugs listed in it. So that way, if you are ransacking something that you come across, you know what it does, because you could end up bringing more harm to yourself than good.
The best book for that, it's called the Physician's Desk Reference, and it's about the size of 2 fat, thick encyclopedias. It's a really good, thick book, but it's got a picture of every pill out there and an exact description of what it does and its mechanism of action. So that's a good investment. You can, even if you get one that's a couple years old, it's got everything in it. And you can find those at secondhand stores fairly cheap sometimes.
Yeah, I got mine at when I had Rachel was here for Patriot Nurse doing her medical class. My headphones aren't gonna stretch, so I'm gonna take them off real fast and grab it because it's out of arm's reach. But yes, it's part of my medical supplies is to have that book. So that way I can go through, if I do find medication, I know what it can be used for.
That's the one thing I'm lacking. Perhaps. How much does that cost?
The physician's desk reference, if you're going to buy it brand new, probably costs you $275.
Ooh.
Yeah, I would suggest if you want one, hit every secondhand store or used bookstore in your area and find one that's within 3 or 4 years old.
Okay. So the one I have is called the Prentice Hall Nurse's Drug Guide. The one I have is the 2008 edition, and it lists every prescription drug out there, its uses, its terminology, what it does, all that kind of stuff. These are $8. $8.
That's the small one, right?
Yes. It'll fit in a bug out bag or something like that.
Yeah, the PDR, that's probably, if you don't have medical expertise or any kind of medical training, it's probably too much of, it's too much information. And it's a rather big book. But if you have medical knowledge, it's worth having.
Oh, definitely.
I wouldn't say carry that with you if you got to hike 200 miles or something, but.
Right. Well, this one also gives you dosages by weight and age and things like that too.
Right.
So definitely.
Oh, nice.
Pretty much every community college in the United States has an emergency medical technician course. And you may not wish to take the course. I think it's good to take a basic first aid course and maybe even a first responder course, which is just a little bit longer than a basic first aid course. But the schools have access to quality products that an emergency medical technician would use, and there's a lot of references. There's a lot of equipment that you can get through the schools fairly inexpensively.
Good, awesome. Another thing, we've been talking about ways to calm people, and of course we've gone to prescription drugs. We also need to look at learning what different herbs, natural herbs, and things like that can do too. Just don't rely upon prescription drugs. There's plenty of other information out there, and I'm not talking about shrooms or anything like that. But there are other ways and means of keeping calm. I know I grow chamomile out in my garden. It's a nice herb that isn't going to kill you, and it will calm you down, in a nice cup of tea. So there are alternate forms out there besides just illegal narcotics or prescription drugs too. Where are we at? We've got time for like a half a question. Mike, do you have something you want to throw out?
I don't. This is still I catch it on the rewind, and there's just so many questions that I can't pin one down. But maybe I'd say, do you have a vehicle plan?
Everybody well, it depends. If you have an EMP, do you need a vehicle plan?
I would say maybe like an older 4-wheeler or something that has a dirt bike, something that has a kickstart or a pull start option with it would be a nice thing to have.
Well, you can also look at, I'm reading the chat room as I'm talking, which I should not be doing. What pieces and parts would you need to repair an older vehicle? Like, say you have a 74 Ford in your garage, that's sitting around that was made G. Michael's in the chat room. He would know this. He's
I think it's 77 is the year that everything got,
before?
The electron. Yeah, everything before 77.
I was thinking it was like 80 something, 83 or something. But yeah, get back to the older stuff, before all of the computerized stuff got put in the vehicles. But do you have spare parts for something like that? Bicycles. But have you actually thought about, when I drove to Florida, I had empty, unused gas cans in the back of my truck in case something happened. I knew how many tanks of gas it would take me to get home. If I had to leave Florida, my plan was to get them filled up immediately, so that way I would not have to stop anywhere and get as far close to home as I could. But have you actually sat down with a map and looked at where you live and how far away somebody could get with a half a tank of gas? Not necessarily a full tank, because a lot of people don't keep their tanks filled. But I look at what's north of me, migration patterns of humans, and more often than not, they're going to head towards warmer weather if something happens. So they're going to head south, and Indianapolis is right in the way of Chicago. So they're going to head right through Indianapolis to head south. And how far would somebody get living in Chicago on a half a tank of gas? They'd be awfully darn close to where I'm at.
Yeah, but they might run out of gas before that, idling.
Let's hope.
Idling in traffic.
In traffic. I mean, you saw with the freaking, 3 inches of snow fell in Atlanta, and it looked like the zombie apocalypse hit that place on the freeways. And it's just, everybody was just sitting on the freeways, just wasting gas. They just gave up and turned the cars off and walked home.
Well, did you see the one guy that, all he had on him were his nice dress shoes, and he ended up losing his toes because he walked home in the snow?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, well, those fancy, shiny black dress shoes they don't have insulation in them. So he took it upon himself to walk home and ended up getting frostbite so bad they had to amputate his toes. So throwing a pair of hiking boots, insulated, especially in the winter, if there's a storm coming, it's not like we don't have fair warning there. It's always a good thing.
That's just dumb too. Like, could have easily cut up some material and shoved it in the shoe or something.
But how many people don't pay attention?
He might have been better off to spend the night in his vehicle. At least there was shelter and
warm.
If it wasn't completely out of gas, he could have,